Today we are talking with Jenn Nava, who is a Vice President of Technology at Spero Therapeutics. So thank you, Jenn, for joining us today. We appreciate you coming on Her Incredible Mind. And we're wondering, could you describe your role?
Sure. No, thanks, Kate. A pleasure to be here and to speak with you and to be supporting Her Incredible Mind. So thank you for the invite. So for me, I'm the Vice President, the Head of Enterprise Technology here at Spero Therapeutics. I've been at Spero for just a little under 3 years, and I essentially manage all of the strategic and operational planning for all of the enterprise for their information technology platforms and services here.
So how would you describe that role? You know, you have to obviously become a big business partner and do a lot of, partnering within all the verticals really in the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, our job as technologists here at a company is never to force a technology, let's say, or force something on a company. It's really to understand how our business partners and our business units want to run their business and what their strategic vision is for their business, and how we as technologists can help automate, enable it, and make them slicker, faster, smarter, and work less hard.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. You know, it's really being that engine that's powering the business while the business is moving forward. You know, you're the ones that are setting the track for how that's going to all go and how everything's going to move forward. You know, with all of the different parts of the engine kind of running at the same time. So it's an interesting thing when you're the kind of that function, if you will, within a company versus kind of being in the front of it. But the truth is, IT has really come to the front of it when you think about now with digital. So, kind of thinking about your role now, you've got a lot of digital underway that you need to put in place.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely. Right. So, part of driving a lot of the business partner strategy forward is really thinking about what the right technical investments are for Spero as an enterprise, right? So it's not only the individual, it's the entire company and the thought process there. So, we were born in the cloud. We're all in the cloud, which is, digital transformation in and of itself. When I started in IT, we were moving, giant reels of tape, in data centers and plugging in networks, where now, you can enable anyone to work from anywhere, anytime, and have access to that and share things with external and internal collaborators. So you've got to look at ways to better enable just day-to-day operations. How do you, go from optimizing performance into, digital reach, right? And digital transformation for us is those two components. It's optimizing how well we operate and perform as a company, and are we running on all cylinders and doing the best that we can efficiently and cost effectively, and and doing it intelligently. And if you're in that space, can you move into the reach part of it, right? So how do you then think about competitive advantage, and how do you apply, different things like deep analytics and AI and some other areas of, technology that can really be advantageous to move our competitive advantage forward in the industry?
That's great, Jenn. So how did you decide on this role, Jenn?
Great question. So, for me, it's, I started my career in biotech and pharma at Biogen, right? And, Kate, you and I were both at Biogen for a very long time. Yeah, I've got a lot of great colleagues, that I still keep in touch with, yourself included, from that day, from those days. And, it's like a rite of passage, right? It's a wonderful company, very, very, very large company, where you have an opportunity to wear some different hats and do some different things and learn about biotechnology and pharma as a business, right? So, I was really comfortable in my role there. And I was doing strategic engagement and a lot of the finance pieces of IT, and was given the opportunity to go and try and help, Biogen spin out their hemophilia division. And that's where I kind of caught the, I'll call it the young pharma bug, if you will, right? So small pharma and feeling like you're making such an impact as a technologist, because bigger companies, it's tougher to see the impact that you make because things move a lot slower. When you're at a small biotech and pharma, it's not like trying to move a battleship with your hands in the mud, right? You can't do that as quickly as you'd like to. We're at a smaller company. Every decision that you make makes an impact, and it makes a dramatic impact, and you can see the rewards of that decision, or or questions of that decision, depending on how well you make it, across the entire organization, because it's very impactful what you're doing. It's usually the first time they've touched technology, or it's the first time they're standing up platforms and enabling capabilities. And you have a really big job in making sure that you're doing that well. You're taking the company and investing in the right technical debt for them, and you're setting them up for future success, and you're scaling the organization appropriately. So this role for me was the bee's knees. It was like everything that I had wanted to do as a technologist. It was green field, which is, completely nothing is here, and you get to build it all, which is great. And it was an opportunity to build a team as well. So I couldn't have asked for a better role for me, and I've loved every minute of it.
Well, that's great, Jen. So what matters to you most when you're thinking about a role?
So first and foremost is culture. And I will always start with culture, because nothing kills strategy better than bad culture, right? So you have to love where you work. You have to feel like what you're doing makes a difference. It's rewarding. It's exciting. A collaborative environment for me is always, first and foremost. I'm a very collaborative person. It's the way I like to work. And I like high performing teams. And high performing teams really get a lot done when the egos are checked at the door, and you're willing to, roll your sleeves up and dig in and work together toward a common mission and goal. So that's for me the first thing. I've never been a salary chaser or a title chaser. Does this make me feel good at the end of the day when I've put in, a hard day's work? Do I feel like it's been rewarding? Do I feel like we've made a difference?
Yeah, it's one of the best things about being in this industry. I know this industry takes a lot of flack, sometimes, but it's truly, in my opinion, it was the most rewarding, switch in my career, going from being in technology, but going into technology and life sciences, because it felt like there was just so much more reward, kind of in my role, where I felt as if, this is impactful. I may be this one little person that's really not, patient facing, or, maybe not, in the labs, but I am that person that's providing those people with what they need to do their job. And that became really, really important to me. It really made me feel as a part of a team that did well. When I first started out, I worked for a company, and one of our mantras was contribute to the whole, and that's how I felt my entire career in life sciences. It's kind of neat like that,
Yeah, no, I agree. There's this big misconception that IT is a deli counter, right? And they just take orders, and that's just the way IT operates. IT is the great enabler of a company. Every company is a technology company first. And you have a lot of C-level and C-suite folks that are really starting to arrive at the table and arrive at those conclusions that you wouldn't be anywhere without technology, right? They're a really important strategic arm of your business. And nothing has brought that more to the forefront than COVID, right? So dealing with a pandemic and having to force companies to work remotely and work in different ways and enable that very quickly has really put a focus on companies' digital transformation, and has escalated the speed of that, by a good 7 to 10 years. So it's been I guess a blessing, if you will, in the aftermath of a pandemic for technologists.
It's a really great point, Jen, right? Because everybody needed technology, and I know, you coming on very soon in your career here was something where you had to jumpstart the whole project of kind of getting people to be able to work things through. And you're not an anomaly. There were so many companies that were not ready. for this, enormous remote workforce versus, having some people that were remote because they're sales or something like that. This is truly entire organizations that had to be, remote.
Yeah, agreed. And when you work at a smaller biotech pharma, right, you have a lot of folks in the R&D space, and normally R&D is in the office, right? And they're in the office 5 days a week. So it's a very different mindset to set yourself up successfully to be able to work from home. And we were really lucky that we pushed for that digital transformation earlier in the process of when I got here from the strategic vision. It was an infrastructure modernization project. And, I've heard that term at some other companies that we've worked for and have done that. But it was, get them to be able to work from anywhere, anytime, enable that functionality for them. And we got in just under the gun. So we finished all of that transformation in, I want to say, the end of January of 2020, and then the pandemic hit in March. So we were ready for it, which was great. I was finally taking a vacation at the time and got a call on the beach with the margarita in my hand going, hey, we've got to go remote because this COVID thing's getting out of hand. Can we do it? And it was an easy answer. It was like, yeah, absolutely. The technology is in place. You should be able to do it. And the company rolled to remote work very seamlessly. And not only were we able to roll into remote work, we were able to continue hiring at the pace that we needed to in order to be able to commercially launch. We were geographically dispersed, and it gave our talent team the advantage of picking the right candidate anywhere, no matter where they were geographically. So it's really been an eye opener, I think, for some folks on how powerful technology can be.
Absolutely. It really was spotlighted, to be honest with you, throughout the COVID, situation. So if you had to kind of look back on your career and, kind of what you've done, which obviously is significant and you're successful at doing what you're doing, what obstacles do you feel as if you've overcome?
Great question. Tons. I'm a woman in technology, right? So there's tons there, right? I mean, I can spend all day in this topic, but for a woman in technology, you're few and far between, right? There aren't a lot of women in technology, and it's a shame because it's such a rewarding career. I used to call it a boys club, right? There's maybe a 2 to 3% ratio of women to the 97% ratio of men in the field. And technology really started to take off when I started getting into the field, 20 plus years ago. And you have, folks have suffered from a lot of, I'll say, old-fashioned management style when it comes to, heads of technology and leaders in those positions. When you had a woman that was well-educated, was well-versed in the technology, and someone that should be listened to, it was tough to feel comfortable with, speaking up at times, or really putting your foot forward and saying, hey, no, I disagree with that, and these are the reasons why, because you weren't really offered that opportunity, to be able to speak openly, or, sometimes not looked at as so much as a peer from a let's say a knowledge perspective, or someone that could be considered as might know something, right? So it was learning, I won't say bad behaviors, but adjusted behaviors on how to present ideas that were yours, but still make them sound like they were someone else's. Because if it came from you because you were a girl, it didn't land as well as it would if it come from someone that was not a woman, right? So overcoming some of those challenges and really building my self-confidence and knowing that, that I was enough, that I knew enough, that it was okay to speak my mind, that it was okay to lead, made a big difference, right? And I've had great mentors, yourself included, that have helped me realize that it's okay to know what you know. It's okay to not know what you don't know, and to admit both, but never ever fold under the table, always lead, right? So that's, that's where I'll leave that one.
Yeah, it's interesting, the dynamic of learning to understand that you can trust yourself. And I think that is part of the biggest challenge in being a woman in IT in general. I mean, let's face it, the greatest perk is when you go to any tech conference, there's no line at the ladies' room, right? That's it. That's the right. But when you're thinking about, kind of long term and all that kind of stuff that goes through your head, it's really trusting yourself that you are enough and that you deserve this seat and you deserve this seat on the table. And, you are a leader. You are a leader. And I think some people really look at technology as something that leadership is not required for. And I completely disagree. That is a key ingredient of IT, because you need to manage more change, more disruption, and more progress than any other of the functions in the organization. You really do.
Yeah.
And it takes leadership and courage and communication in order to do that.
Agreed. And it takes good, solid business partnering, right? And you do that by developing your relationships, and you work through your relationships to influence technology decisions, right? I'm sure people that are in tech know that terminology, shadow IT, right? You never want to be in an organization where shadow IT develops, because if that is happening, you're not leading.
Right. No, it's a great point. And it truly means that you have not business partnered correctly. You know what I mean? That you have decided, to kind of do stuff on your own. And you've got these factions in the business, if you will, that have started their own technology projects, and you're not included in that conversation, which is really something that, you really have to aware of and make sure that you're, holding steady to your strategy and your vision and how that aligns within there. So, which I know is something you excel at. So if you had to talk to your younger self, what would you say?
Yeah, hindsight's always 20/20, isn't it? Oh my God. Yeah, I'd say a lot. I would say a lot, right? So, the first thing I would say is listen, right? Learn how to listen. This is active listening is, it's a tool that is not often practiced. It is something I've struggled with. It's definitely a blind spot for me. I'm much better at it. I'm aware of it now. I talk to myself in my head. The internal dialogue is constantly saying, hey, did you listen? Did you really listen? Or, stop talking and listen, right? So I'm constantly telling myself to do that. I got to work on it every day. This is just, something that's going to be a constant in my life. That's one, I think. Another would be, don't be afraid to speak your mind, right? But make sure that when you're speaking your mind, you take the emotion out of it, right? That's a big thing, right? So another misconception of women in leadership in general is, a lot of misconception is, oh, well, they're emotional leaders, and you can't lead with emotion. You need to lead with fact. And that's not the case, actually. I don't find that to be the case 90% of the time. Some of the strongest leaders, men or women, have led with a bit of emotion, right? You have to humanize what you're doing. And if you can't keep things on a human level, I don't think you get too far with folks, right? Because at the end of the day, you're working with human beings. You're not working with robots. I mean, maybe you are, if that's what your field is, but, I've found that my most successful professional relationships have been when, you demonstrate listening and care, for the other person, and certainly allowing them to be their own expert and speaking their mind and sharing their ideas and thoughts.
That's great advice. And I think that that's very spot on, especially in this particular environment and this climate that we have going on in the world today. We've had to have empathy. We've had to understand that people it's no longer the separation between work and home is no longer there. So when the kids need to be on the conference call, the kids need to be on the conference call. And that's just the way things need to roll. And people need to be, kind of aware of and tolerant to that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And that's what's going to be there. I think, one of the things that I would say is that I love that, that there's been a challenge across everything, right, with women, because you now understand that, yes, when we worked from home, we really were working from home. We really were, and we were doing things other than just, going on Zoom calls. There's other stuff that's going on, and what we're doing, and being a primary caretaker, whether you're a man or a woman, is not an easy position. And to work at the same time is very, very difficult. So I think that part of COVID not only highlighted IT and how much it has enabled us to be able to do that, but also the benefit of somewhat of being home and knowing your kids' days and knowing your parents' days and all of the things that go on that you won't get back. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the plus side, I would say, of this absolute craziness that we've gone through. So what advice would you have for younger girls?
That's a good one. The same advice I give my son, right? So I have a 10-year-old son, and it doesn't matter whether you're a girl or a boy. It's be true to who you are, chase whatever that is, and have a good support system behind you that believes in what you do, right? So, and have conviction, right? If you're going to do something, have conviction and believe in it and stick to it. And always be a person of your word. So that's a big thing for me. So the best thing, is, in addition to career advice, is, a lot of folks will tell you what they think you should be. A lot of folks certainly told me what they thought I should be. A lot of folks told me what they thought I wasn't. And I probably heard that more than I heard of what I should be. And you just got to chase your passion. You'll find what you like, and don't freak out if you don't find it at first, because you'll eventually find it, or you'll find a niche of something that you like. And if it's something that you end up loving, then find a way to turn that into a job, find a way to turn that into a career, whether that's through a company or being your own boss. That's going to be what's going to make you the happiest. And that's what you should chase.
Well, thank you, Jen, for sitting with us today and responding to our questions. It was a great time. And as always, we thank all of the women for sharing their stories. It's really important that we share our stories so that the other women out there and these younger women that are still trying to figure out where they want to be can learn from what we've already gone through. So
yeah, no, my pleasure, Kate. Thank you. Thank you for everything that you've done for me. So I hope all these women are listening to get yourself a mentor. Kate's been mine, and she's been just fantastic.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you.